Ciao guys, welcome to session 2.1 of the Culture and Cuisine in Italy class. Today I would like to start our journey into the Italian cuisine by talking about something that can seem very simple at first sight, but in fact is probably the most iconic dish of the whole Italian culinary culture. I'm talking about spaghetti al pomodoro, spaghetti with tomato sauce. Now, I know what you're thinking. Maybe these can sound a little strange in order to introduce all the Italian history in a class like this one. But I would like you to take this from a very different perspective. In fact, reflecting on a simple plate of pasta opens a window into the rich variety of Italian culture, revealing how food becomes a symbol of national identity. Pasta, in its countless shapes and recipes, mirrors the diverse histories, traditions, and flavors of Italy's various regions, unifying the country through its gastronomic diversity. The story I'm about to tell you also delves into the perception of pasta, particularly spaghetti with tomato sauce, as an emblem of Italian cuisine, especially from an international viewpoint. This dish, often garnished with grated Parmigiano cheese, is not just seen as a culinary delight, but as a representative of Italian identity. This perception underscores how external perspectives can simplify and generalize a culture's complexity. The journey of this dish is also a study of the environmental conditions and the historical circumstances that brought it to prominence. The historian's task is to explore the roots of this dish, understanding it as a complex creation requiring the interplay of various elements. The focus, so, goes beyond ingredients and cooking techniques to include the dish's role within the culinary system of Italy. Choosing the basic elements of spaghetti with tomato sauce for analysis, we see how each component, from olive oil to basil, contributes to the dish's identity. The analysis acknowledges the variations across local, social, and generational customs, demonstrating the multifaceted nature of Italian cuisine. This exploration is not just about tracing a recipe's origins, but understanding its place in the larger narrative of culture and tradition, showing how a simple plate of pasta encapsulates a nation's culinary heritage and identity. Let's start by talking about a myth. The widely believed narrative that Marco Polo introduced pasta to Italy upon his return from China is just a piece of fake news that has been perpetuated over centuries. This misconception was debunked in a report titled Against Marco Polo, published in 1989, which aimed to dismantle this legend. The report clarified that Marco Polo's memoir, The Million, makes no mention of him introducing pasta to Italy. Instead, Polo described encountering sego flour pasta in Sumatra, a type that reminded him of similar dishes already existing in Italy. The misconception, by the way, originated 2 centuries after Polo, when a publisher of Polo's memoirs misinterpreted and manipulated the text, leading readers to believe that Polo discovered pasta in China. This myth was further embellished in 1929 by an American journalist in the Macaroni Journal, attributing the invention of spaghetti to a Venetian sailor named Spaghetti in a fanciful tale. Serious historical research points out that pasta's history is complex and not fully clear in some aspects, despite the scholarly efforts. Crucially, China had no direct influence on the development of pasta in the Western world, particularly in Italy. The two countries' pasta traditions developed independently, with China focusing on soft wheat and domestic pasta preparation, and Italy on durum wheat, semolina, for artisanal industrial production of dried pasta with a long shelf life. The origins of pasta in the Western tradition are traced back to the Fertile Crescent in the Middle East, where the agricultural revolution began and wheat cultivation led to bread, a symbol of this revolution. Pasta, a quintessential element of modern cuisine, has roots deeply embedded in the history of bread, stretching back to the Middle East. Initially emerging as a variant of unleavened or sometimes leavened bread, pasta's origins can be traced back to ancient civilizations. Terms like laksha in the 3rd to the 7th century before the Common Era refer to thin, elongated dough resembling today's pasta shapes. Another term, rishta, pointed specifically to pasta cut in strips, akin to modern tagliatelle or spaghetti. This indicates the historical significance and diversity of pasta's early forms. In ancient texts, pasta-like items were often referred to with terms implying varied meanings. For example, laganon in Greek and lagana in Latin could mean something similar to today's lasagna or other bread-like items. The concept of tracta, derived from traere, that means to pull in Latin, appeared in the Roman cookbook attributed to one of the most famous cooks of all antiquity, Apicius, hinting at the early iterations of pasta making techniques. However, in the Greco-Roman gastronomic culture, pasta wasn't recognized as a distinct category of food. It was used as an ingredient in various recipes, but not perceived as a separate food group. This lack of recognition can be attributed to pasta being an unthinkable food in ancient Mediterranean cultures, not fitting into the binary scheme of bread, cakes, and polenta grain soup prevalent at that time. The evolution of pasta cooking in liquid is a significant aspect, showing a departure from traditional culinary methods. While there are references to pasta cooked in liquid in Imperial Rome, it was not the norm. The Talmud of Jerusalem, reflecting the customs of the eastern part of the Roman Empire, mentions yttrium, though, a new type of dough cooked differently, indicating an early shift toward modern pasta making practices. Thus, the journey of pasta from the Middle East to Europe is not just about the evolution of a food item, but also about the transformation of culinary concepts and practices over time. This historical voyage reveals the complexity and adaptability of culinary traditions as they intermingle and evolve across cultures and eras. The concept of drying pasta, an inherent feature of its preparation, can be traced back to ancient practices. Apicius's Tracta and the Mesopotamian Risnatu suggest the long history of drying pasta, especially when made from durum wheat, shaping a significant chapter in pasta's evolution. The introduction of dried pasta in the Western Mediterranean is attributed possibly to Jewish merchants, with historian Pietro Hispano referring to it as the food of the Jews. However, it was the Arabs, after their conquest of Persia and subsequent assimilation of its culture, who played a crucial role in spreading the custom of dried pasta across their domains, including North Africa, Sicily, and Andalusia. This new practice added a layer to the Greek and Roman tradition of fresh pasta. The introduction of dried pasta also brought about a new nomenclature. Arab cooking and dietetics treatises coined the term itria, an analog to Hebrew itrium and Greek tria, though with some linguistic uncertainties. While itria took on a general meaning for pasta in the Arab world, rishta continued to signify long-form dried pasta. Another term, fidash, likely of Arabic origin, emerged in the Middle Ages, used in the Western Islamic world to denote short pasta or pasta broken into pieces. Over time, these terms evolved and integrated into various languages, reflecting the widespread influence of pasta across cultures. For instance, Italian adopted the term fedellini, showcasing the continuous and dynamic evolution of pasta in culinary tradition. The origins of the pasta industry are deeply rooted in the cultural melting pot of Sicily, dating back to the 12th century. During this period, Sicily was a confluence of Arab, Norman, Christian, Jewish, and Muslim cultures, leading to a rich and diverse cultural tapestry. This blend of influences is exemplified in the emergence of a dried pasta industry, the first of its kind, as documented by Al-Idrisi, a North African nobleman and geographer. He described in his work, the Tabula Rogeriana, how Trabia, near Palermo, housed advanced pasta manufacturing, exporting significant quantities to various regions. The introduction and the development of the pasta industry in Sicily were influenced by several factors. The island's Greek and Roman past, its role as the Roman Empire's breadbasket, and the cultural and commercial influence of the Arab world all contributed to this evolution. The Jewish community's presence on the island and the Islamic world's control over trade routes were pivotal in promoting dried pasta, especially in a strategic location like Sicily. Geographically, also, Sicily's climate and terrain were ideal for cultivating durum wheat, a crucial ingredient for dried pasta. Additionally, the urban-centric social and civic organization of the Greek, Roman, and Hellenistic worlds nurtured food cultures that were market and city-oriented, such as dried pasta. Despite medieval dietary practices generally distrusting preserved foods, dried pasta transcended these limitations to become a central part of Italian gastronomic culture. This transformation from a mere preserved food to a symbol of Italian identity underscores the dynamic interplay of historical, cultural, and environmental factors in shaping culinary traditions. Sicily's unique position in the Mediterranean, its rich historical legacy, and its conducive geographic conditions played a vital role in birthing what would become a staple of Italian cuisine. The evolution of pasta in Italy, particularly the concept of macaroni, is a fascinating story that unfolds in the early Italian cookbooks of the 1300s and the 1400s. Initially, these cookbooks gave little attention to industrial dried pasta, with only a few recipes featuring tria, the type of pasta that we were mentioning before. The term ancia alexandrina, mentioned in the 14th century Liber de Coquina, the Book of Cookery, likely referred to a form of long-dried pasta made from Apulian wheat, resembling what we know as macaroni. The development of filled pasta, possibly influenced by Turco-Mongolian traditions and Arab mediation, became a significant culinary trend in Italy during the Middle Ages and Renaissance. This period saw a surge in creativity around pasta, with recipes becoming increasingly sophisticated in preparation techniques. Maestro Martino, a renowned 15th century Italian chef, described the preparation of Sicilian macaroni and macaroni romaneschi in his detailed recipes. These early forms of pasta were made by rolling dough into thin, straw-like shapes and then cutting them into strands. The term macaroni in the 11th century initially described dumplings made from thick dough. Over time, as methods like tinning and piercing the dough were employed to aid drying, the term began to encompass dried pasta more generally. Martino's suggestion to dry Sicilian macaroni in sunlight indicates an intersection between court cooking and emerging industrial food production techniques. Interestingly, the word spago, used by Martino in reference to a wire for piercing dough, paves the way for the term spaghetti. However, it wasn't until the mid-19th century that spaghetti became a commonly used term. Until then, maccheroni remained the preferred term for long, thin pasta, especially in the city of Naples. This rich history highlights the dynamic evolution of pasta in Italy, from its varied traditional forms to the globally recognized varieties we know today. In Italian culinary history, pasta evolved from being just one of many food products to a distinct food category in its own right. This transition occurred towards the end of the Middle Ages and is evident in both dietary treatises and cookbooks of the time. Physicians were the first to recognize this shift, grouping various pasta products together under a collective name to establish general health guidelines for their preparation and consumption. For example, the Compendium by Barnaby da Reggio in 1338 categorized the different dried pasta products under the term tria, noting their varied local names across Italy. In the following century, Benedetto Riguardati da Norcia wrote about macaroni, lasagna, and other pasta dishes, highlighting the growing recognition of pasta as a distinct food category. By the 15th century, cookbooks began to reflect this change. Maestro Martino's recipes placed the various types of pasta such as macaroni, lasagna, vermicelli, and ravioli in close sequence, indicating a new way of perceiving these food preparations as part of a unified category. The development marked a significant cultural shift, with pasta becoming emblematic of Italy's diverse local traditions. By the mid 16th century, the variety of pasta dishes was well recognized, celebrating the diversity of Italian culinary tradition. Pasta's evolution into a singular category that encompasses a multitude of forms and preparations reflects the rich variety of Italian cuisine, deeply rooted in regional diversity and gastronomic creativity. The seemingly simple act of boiling pasta in salted water is a culinary practice that has evolved over time and is rooted in deep historical and cultural traditions. The choice of boiling as the preferred method for cooking pasta, particularly in its dried form, aligns with the ancient dietary principles. These principles, dating back to Hippocrates and later refined by Galen, advocated for balancing the qualities of food along the axis of hot, cold, and dry, moist. The scientific and dietary rationale suggests boiling as a way to rehydrate and temper the dry nature of pasta. Interestingly, the method of cooking pasta has varied over the centuries, including boiling, frying, steaming, baking, and even sauteing. The shift towards boiling pasta, particularly in water, broth, or milk, can be seen as some sort of response to the creation of dried pasta and became a widely accepted practice for all pasta types, including filled pastas like lasagna and tortellini. Historically, the texture of cooked pasta, particularly its soft and viscous nature, was also a point of consideration and sometimes preference. Cooking times varied greatly, with some historical recipes recommending very long durations. To counteract the moistness of pasta, especially post boiling, culinary traditions incorporated the use of dried ingredients like pepper or other spices, and this practice not only adjusted the pasta's texture, but also became a symbol of social privilege due to the high cost of spices at that time. And cheese, of course. Additionally, in fact, the pairing of pasta with cheese gained popularity, supported by the same dietary principles. This combination successfully balanced the moist nature of pasta with the dry qualities of cheese, leading to a culinary practice that enjoyed widespread acceptance and success. The intertwining histories of pasta and cheese, particularly aged cheese, reveal a culinary symbiosis that shaped Italian gastronomy. The combination of pasta, a moist food, with dry aged cheese was not just a practice born out of taste, but was also rooted in the same dietary theories we were mentioning before. These theories, based on balancing opposing qualities of foods, influenced the use of cheese with pasta. Historically, physicians and cookbooks alike started to notice and codify this pairing. Benedetto Reguardati, the physician from Norcia I was mentioning before, specially mentioned the suitability of cheese for pasta dishes in his writings. This notion was echoed in the 14th century Liber de Coquina, which advised a generous use of grated cheese on pasta dishes. The type of cheese used varied, respecting different regional tastes and habits, with aged cheese like Parmigiano becoming especially recommended. The culinary practice of grating cheese over pasta dishes was not just a matter of taste, but also adhered to the principle of opposites cure opposites. This theory suggested that the dry nature of aged cheese could balance the moist nature of pasta. Over time, this pairing became a symbol of Italian cuisine, often referenced in cookbooks and culinary literature as the ideal condiment for pasta. Furthermore, the social perception of cheese evolved alongside pasta. Initially viewed as a food for the lower classes, cheese gained prominence and became a symbol of gastronomic refinement, particularly when combined with pasta. This historical journey of pasta and cheese, from simple dietary components to central elements of Italian culinary identity, illustrates the deep connection between culinary practices and cultural evolution. The adoption of the fork in Italian dining culture is closely linked to the country's evolving culinary habits, particularly the widespread consumption of pasta. In medieval Europe, the primary eating utensils were the spoon for liquids and the knife for cutting solid foods. The fork was not a common tool, and in many places, hands were preferred for their direct contact with food. However, in Italy, the fork emerged as an essential utensil, primarily due to the nature of eating pasta, which was often dressed with cheese and butter and served hot, making it slippery and difficult to handle with just hands. The Liber de Coquina, one of the earliest European culinary texts, hints at the use of a pointed wooden instrument, a precursor to the fork, for eating lasagna. A novella by Franco Sacchetti from the end of 14th century vividly describes a man quickly eating hot macaroni, using an instrument to wind them up, indicating the early use of the fork for spaghetti. The widespread use of forks in Italy, even among the common people, was a reflection of pasta's prominence in Italian cuisine. This is further evidenced by historical documents like an inventory listing forks as stolen goods, especially for eating macaroni. The use of forks in Italy predated other European countries and was a signifier of the integral role pasta played in the nation's dietary practices. Emilio Sereni's 1958 essay on the dietary history of southern Italy highlights the transformation of Neapolitans from greens eaters to macaroni eaters. This shift wasn't just about changing food preferences, but was deeply intertwined with economic, cultural, and technological factors. Sereni's methodical approach revealed that the history of food is complex, blending various aspects of life and society. Originally, pasta was considered a luxury in Naples and not a dietary staple. However, in the early 17th century, due to market impoverishment and reduced meat supply, Neapolitans had to adapt their diet. Technological advancements in pasta production, like the introduction of mixers and presses in Naples, drastically reduced the cost of pasta production and transformed it into a staple food. These innovations allowed for efficient large-scale pasta production, previously done by rolling and cutting dough by hand. The combination of pasta and cheese replaced the traditional cabbage and meat duo in the Neapolitan diet, leading to the nickname macaroni eaters for Neapolitans by the 17th century. Pasta, until then, had been a side dish in a haute cuisine, typically served with meats or fish. However, with these changes, pasta began to play a central role in daily diets, particularly in Naples, where it became a popular street food and a cultural symbol. This evolution of pasta from a luxury item to a daily staple reflects the dynamic relationship between food, culture, and technology, and how they collectively shape dietary habits and identities. And now let's talk about something that is a signature of the Italian cuisine, the pasta al dente. Al dente, a term that is emblematic of Italian gastronomic culture, particularly for pasta, symbolizes the preferred method for cooking pasta, firm to the bite. Historically, cookbooks from the medieval and Renaissance periods advised lengthy cooking times for pasta, significantly longer than modern standards. Just keep this in mind. Maestro Martino, a notable culinary figure, even recommended boiling pasta for up to 2 hours. It wasn't until the 17th century that shorter cooking times began to be advocated. Giovanni del Turco, a Florentine gastronome, suggested cooking macaroni for a shorter period and rinsing it immediately in cold water to maintain firmness. This preference for a quicker cooking became more pronounced for fresh thin pasta like tagliolini and advised by Antonio Latini, a Neapolitan chef. The shift to quicker cooking times for all types of pasta, including dried varieties like spaghetti, likely originated in Naples. Street food stands serving pasta as a quick meal probably played a key role in popularizing the appreciations for pasta's texture when cooked al dente. By the late 19th century, Pellegrino Artusi, an influential figure in Italian cooking, also embraced and promoted this method, suggesting that shorter cooking times made pasta more digestible since it required more chewing. This trend of cooking pasta until just al dente aligns with the evolution of pasta from a side dish to a central element of a meal. The focus on maintaining its texture and consistency is seen as a reflection of its elevated status in Italian cuisine, suggesting that its transformation from an accompaniment to a main dish influenced the preference for a firmer, more flavorful bite. Food, as a distinct marker of identity, goes beyond its nutritional value to embody the symbolic and cultural values attached to culinary traditions. The concept of food as an identity symbol is evident in the historical transition of Neapolitans from greens eaters to macaroni eaters, as detailed in Serenity's Say. This shift wasn't just about changing food habits, it reflected broader social, economic, and political transformations in southern Italy. And in the context of Italian unification, the consumption of macaroni took on a symbolic significance extending beyond regional identity to a broader sense of national belonging. Camillo Cavour, a key figure in Italian unification, metaphorically used eating macaroni to signify the political conquest of Naples, aligning food consumption with the consolidation of national identity. As the model of pasta consumption spread across southern Italy, reaching urban and coastal areas first and rural regions later, pasta became a symbol of southern Italian identity and by extension a marker of Italianness. This stereotype was further reinforced by the massive wave of Italian immigration at the end of the 19th century. Italian emigrants were often identified by their food habits, such as eating pasta, which became a distinctive marker of their identity in foreign lands. The immigration phenomenon also facilitated the broader dissemination of pasta as a staple food among Italians, especially in America, where improved economic conditions enabled the daily consumption of pasta and meat. The stereotype of Italians as macaroni eaters thus evolved from a regional identity to a national one, playing a crucial role in unifying diverse cultural and regional identities under the umbrella of a shared national heritage. For centuries, pasta was predominantly served with a white sauce, typically a mixture of cheese, butter, spices, lard, or oil. The arrival of tomato sauce, though, which didn't become prevalent until the 19th century, marked a significant shift in Italian gastronomy. Tomatoes, native to South America and later introduced to Italy via Spain, initially faced resistance and suspicion due to their association with eggplants, which were considered harmful and noxious. Early Italian and Spanish naturalists and physicians often expressed prejudice against tomatoes, reinforcing their negative image. However, culinary experimentation and curiosity overcame these prejudices. The transformation of tomatoes from botanical curiosities to a staple in Italian cooking occurred gradually. Their incorporation into Italian cuisine was significantly influenced by Italy's close relationship with Spain, which played a pivotal role in introducing the tomato into the Italian kitchens. By the 17th century, tomatoes began to make their way into Italian sauces, a long established category of food in cooking history. The process of integrating tomatoes into Italian cuisine was part of a larger trend of adopting new ingredients and flavors, reflecting the dynamic and evolving nature of culinary traditions. The traditional Italian cooking system, in fact, has always emphasized sauces as an integral component of dishes, whether it be meat, fish, vegetable, or pasta. These sauces, referred to as flavors, were meant to complement and enhance the dishes, often balancing nutritional elements according to historical dietary theories. The appearance of tomato sauce in the 17th century marked a significant addition to the spectrum of sauce colors and flavors in European cuisine. The journey of the tomato from the New World to Europe and its eventual acceptance in Italian cuisine is complex. Early Spanish explorers in the Americas brought tomatoes to Europe, where they were initially met with suspicion and associated with eggplants, which were considered harmful. Just keep in mind that the word that we use for referring to eggplants is melanzana, that is a contraction of mela insana, unhealthy apple. Despite these initial reservations, though, culinary curiosity led to gradual acceptance and use of tomatoes, especially in frying, to warm and dry them according to the then prevailing dietary principles. Tomato sauce, often termed Spanish style, was first documented in European cookbooks in the 17th century. Antonio Latini's 1692 cookbook, Scalco alla Moderna, The Modern Steward, provides one of the earliest Italian recipes for tomato sauce. The recipe features diced tomatoes, onions, chili peppers, thyme, salt, oil, and vinegar, illustrating the incorporation of tomato into Italian culinary traditions. Over time, physicians' perceptions of tomatoes changed, shifting from a suspicion of their nutritional value to an appreciation for their digestive benefits. By the 18th century, tomato sauce became an established part of Italian cuisine, often accompanying boiled meats too. The sauce's acidic nature was considered beneficial for digestion, reflecting a shift from Galenic medical theories to newer scientific understanding. In summary, the integration of tomatoes and tomato sauce into Italian cooking reflects the evolving nature of culinary practices, influenced by a mix of cultural exchanges, scientific advancement, and changing dietary theories. The relationship between pasta and tomato sauce, particularly in the context of the famous Italian dish amatriciana, reflects a significant shift in Italian culinary tradition. This shift is not just a change in ingredients, but a transformation in the gastronomic identity of Italian cuisine. Historically, pasta was served predominantly with a white sauce, but the integration of tomato sauce into Italian pasta dishes marked a crucial culinary evolution. French gastronome Grimoire de la Reynière mentioned in his Almanach des Gourmands, 1807, the occasional use of tomatoes in place of cheese for pasta, indicating the beginning of this culinary trend. The real turning point, however, seems to have taken place in Naples, with evidence from early 19th century Neapolitan cookbooks suggesting recipes for pasta with tomato sauce and cheese. By the late 19th century, the combination of pasta and tomato sauce had become a staple in Italian cuisine, particularly in the South. Pellegrino Artusi's seminal cookbook La scienza in cucina e l'arte di mangiar bene, Science in the Kitchen and the Art of Eating Well, played a significant role in popularizing tomato sauce across Italy, presenting it as a versatile ingredient suitable for various dishes. And the evolution of pasta sauce from white to red, particularly in the case of the above-mentioned amatriciana, is a testament to the dynamic nature of Italian culinary history. And this has also something to do with another major ingredient of the current tomato sauce: chili pepper. The chili pepper's journey from America to Europe and its rapid integration into Old World cuisine is a story of gastronomic adaptation and also societal transformation. Originating in the Americas, the chili pepper was embraced in Europe for its intense heat and flavor, qualities that were previously associated with the expensive imported spices. It found a welcoming culinary environment in Spain and Italy, where it quickly became popular in both haute cuisine and everyday cooking. This popularity was driven by the chili pepper's affordability and the ease of growing it locally, especially in the south, where usually it's hot since March until the late October. Interestingly, the spread of the chili pepper in Europe coincided with a decline in the upper classes' use of hot spices, as these flavors became more widely accessible and therefore less exclusive. The first European mention of the chili pepper comes from Diego Alvarez Chanca, who accompanied Columbus in 1494. It was initially used as a substitute for black pepper, valued for its spice and flavor. By the 16th century, the chili pepper had become a commonplace ingredient in Spanish and Italian cooking. Niccolò Monardes in 1569 noted its widespread cultivation in Spain, and Pietro Andrea Mattioli in 1568 confirmed its common usage in Italy. The chili pepper was also quickly incorporated into tomato sauces, with the first Italian recipe for a tomato sauce featuring chili pepper dating back to 1692 by Antonio Latini. And despite its popularity in everyday cuisine, cookbooks from 17th and 18th centuries often regarded the chili pepper as a rustic or vulgar ingredient, unsuitable for refined dining. However, its usage remained a staple in popular cooking, especially in Naples and other major cities of the south. The combination of chili pepper with tomato sauce, and subsequently with pasta, became a defining feature of Italian popular cuisine. This history underscores the chili pepper's role in bridging the gap between class-based culinary preferences. But in the Mediterranean diet, tomato sauce, chili pepper, they are an integral part of what we call the Mediterranean diet. And as you probably know, this term is not something that we have invented, but an American physiologist did. So let's talk about the Mediterranean diet. Now, it is recognized for its health benefits and as part of UNESCO's intangible cultural heritage, and it owes much of its global acknowledgement to the work of American physician Ansel Keys. Keys, known for inventing the K ration for the US military and for his comprehensive study on human starvation, initiated his journey into the Mediterranean diet in the early 50s. Sent to Rome in 1951 by the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, that by the way has its seat in Rome, just in front of the Circus Maximus, Keys attended a nutrition convention where he proposed that, unlike Europe's nutritional deficiencies, the United States might be suffering from an excess of certain dietary elements. This theory stemmed from the high rate of heart attacks among American men at that time. His views initially received little attention, except from Neapolitan Dr. Gino Bergami, who noted that the lack of cardiovascular diseases in Naples could be connected and related to the specific foods that make up the Mediterranean diet. This led to a collaboration between Keys and Bergami, sparking a groundbreaking study comparing the health of Neapolitan workers to their American counterparts. Keys discovered a significant difference in cholesterol levels between the two groups, with the Neapolitan samples showing much lower levels. This finding marked the beginning of widespread interest in the effects of cholesterol on health. Keys' subsequent 7-country study over 35 years provided valuable insights into the impact of diet and lifestyle on health, especially regarding cardiovascular disease, and demonstrated the beneficial qualities of the Mediterranean diet. This diet, characterized by high intakes of plant-based foods, moderated intakes of fish, poultry and dairy, and very low intakes of red and processed meats, has been recommended by various health organizations for its potential to reduce risks of cardiovascular disease and type 2 diabetes. And what is better, in order to summarize and embody everything that is good and tasty in the Mediterranean diet, than a dish of spaghetti with tomato sauce. This first recorded lesson, guys, just has everything that you need to know in order to understand the importance, both culturally speaking and gastronomically speaking, of the most iconic dish of my culinary culture, spaghetti al pomodoro. But there are a couple of things more that I would like to show you. First, I want you to take a look at the way by which people outside Italy, especially in a northern European country like the United Kingdom, saw, and probably still see, our diet as something that is some sort of legend and some sort of elements of our culture that can be also mocked sometimes. And furthermore, at the very end of this video, there is a little bonus content that I have recorded while I was here in New Orleans, and that I added to the original record. It's my grandma's recipe for making spaghetti with ragu.
That is a variation of spaghetti with tomato sauce, including some grounded beef meat. I hope that you will enjoy it, and I hope that you will try this at home, because now you are starting this journey into Italy, Italian culture, and its culinary culture. And I would like to think that by the end of this semester that we're gonna spend together, you will be honorary gastronomic Italian citizens. So thank you for your attention, guys. Enjoy the videos at the very end of this recording, and see you next week in classroom for going on with our exploration into cuisine and identity. Ciao, guys.
So, guys, it's Super Bowl day, and I'm here at my friend Alex's house, and everybody is eating chicken wings and jambalaya, gumbo, and I am delighted with all these tasties, but I decided that it's time to give them some real spaghetti with ragu. Spaghetti with ragu is a variation of spaghetti with tomato sauce. This is the most iconic dish of all the Italian cuisine because it represents everything that you need to know about our national history. So let's go with the recipe. So ingredients for the recipe are garlic, onion, basil, fresh basil of course, these kind of tomatoes that are the ones that are suitable for becoming sauce or being added to some tomato sauce. And then we have spaghetti, of course, better if organic as usual and better if Italian. And there is also something else that is a little bit of red wine in order to spill it a little bit when the meat is about to get cooked, okay? Then we can go on with the onion. It's better to take this light colored onion, not red one, because it's a little sweeter than it is expected for a recipe like this one. Just follow the same procedure that you followed for the garlic. And now I'm crying a lot. Yes. Now we can put our mixture of grounded garlic and onion in a very large pot with some olive oil in it. I'm still crying if you're asking. And voila, this is done. We can start cooking the soffritto. Oh. Stir it gently, and the fire shouldn't be too high. What is important is that you keep the soffritto on the fire enough until you see especially the onion becoming of some sort of darker color, but I mean a very light shade of brown, not too much. Usually 10 minutes are enough for this. Of course, feel free to add some generous dose of black pepper and above all, salt. Okay, now we can proceed with meat. This is organic ground beef, and I mean, from the aspect, it's not that bad, notwithstanding all the plastic. So we just open it, we let it breathe a while in order to remove any kind of flavors that we could not like related to, I don't know. I guess there's not a lot of processing behind these, but I mean, just to be safe, we can open it a little bit with our hand. You don't have to make meatballs, you just have to open it. and we can add it to the garlic and the onion that we were already cooking in the pot. Voila. This recipe I'm following, it's my grandma's one, and she was from Naples, and therefore this is a Neapolitan ragu. We have two kinds of ragus in Italy, the one from the north, from Bologna, and the one from Naples. Usually Neapolitan ragu is browner, darker in color, and it takes a little longer than the other one to be cooked. Just keep in mind that now we have to wait that the meat starts taking the right color and the right flavor, and voila, I'm gonna show this to you, and then we can proceed with tomatoes. You see, the meat is taking the brown color that it has to have, and we can proceed with our tomatoes. Remember to always wash very carefully all tomatoes, because notwithstanding the organic label, I mean, we never know. So, I mean, spending like 1 or 2 minutes washing tomatoes or any other vegetable is always paramount. Now, you don't actually need to chop tomatoes in very tiny pieces, because all through the cooking process they will release a lot of juice, and this is what you want. But in the meanwhile, before putting the tomatoes, you should open a bottle of Italian red wine. I picked this Chianti at the organic food store here in New Orleans. Da Vinci Chianti. I don't know the cantina, but I guess it's quite a good wine. Let's take some smell at the cap. This is the most important part. Every single time you have a wine you don't know, because you can immediately smell if something is not good. If you have this some sort of rotten note in the cap. Oh, actually this is very good. And you add just some milliliters of wine to the ragu, still cooking without ever leaving the pot from the flame. Okay, so just like this, and when you put it, you immediately turn the flame up, because now you need the alcohol to evaporate completely, and just the background notes of the red wine to stay within the meat. You can immediately see when the magic is working, because you will see a lot of steam, just like this one, coming from the pot. This means that alcohol is evaporating, because alcohol evaporates at 75 Celsius degree and not 100 Celsius degree like water. Here it is. Here it is. Voila. Now, still with the flame up, we can put also the diced tomatoes in the pot. I lost one. I'm gonna take it later. Voila. Now, you will probably add some more salt, because tomatoes are not so salty. And here you are. After having washed them too, this is time for adding a couple of basil leaves. Remember that basil should never be in touch with knives or anything made up of iron or steel or any kind of metal. So you want to just crush it with your bare hands or with some wooden tools. These two leaves are enough to give all the flavor that it's needed in order to make some good ragu. And okay. And so finally, for the sauce, we can add the peeled tomatoes that will make the most of the sauce. My suggestion is always keep everything organic, and here it is. Now stir it vigorously, because all tomatoes have to stay in contact with meat, with the onion and garlic. And now that you have done this, if you want, you can add some more black pepper and some more salt, and you're done. After having completed this step, you just lower the flame and you put these on the pot, well, in order to make all the magic. Now, if you want to follow my grandma's recipe to the letter, you should have the ragu cooking for like 6 to 8 hours. My grandma used to wake up, with the first sunbeams, and she started cooking the ragu in order for it to be ready at lunch. Let's say that we have to wait at least 1 hour. I will wait for 1 hour and a half, 1 hour or 2 hours maybe. It depends on when the Super Bowl is gonna start. And in the meanwhile, we can also taste this Chianti. That is way better than I expected. So see you in 2 hours. Okay, so 70 minutes have passed and we are already there. But I guess that I'm gonna wait like 20 minutes more in order to have all the flavor that I'm looking for. What is important to remind is that the sauce has to pappocchiare. That is a Neapolitan verb that refers to this sound here. You hear the sound? This is pappocchiare. Actually, it just means that it has to make some bubbles, because it means that it's boiling without removing a lot of water. And so here we are, after 90 minutes of cooking. So this is very good, judging by the smell. And now we can proceed boiling some water, salted water, and when it boils, we can put spaghetti in it. Now keep in mind that if you want an al dente pasta, that means that is something that you can, it's firm to the bite. You should always make this calculation, take a look at how many minutes of cooking are suggested on the label or on the packaging, and then subtract 1 or 2 minutes, okay? Okay, so as you can see, water's boiling now, so we can take our pasta, our spaghetti, put it in the boiling water. This pot is large enough to have a kilogram and a half. And since it's Super Bowl night, I'm gonna use it all. Now, since the packaging says that 11 minutes is the minimum amount of time required to have this pasta, let's set a 9 minutes time, okay? So since on the packaging there's written 11 minutes to 13 minutes of cooking time, I just set a 9 minutes timer just to have an al dente spaghetti. You may want to stir the pasta sometimes, just to make sure that all spaghetti are cooked properly. The pasta is almost ready, but if you don't have a scola pasta, that is the proper tool that we should use, just move it with these other tools that I don't know how it's called in American English.
We call it as schiumarola, and it's made up exactly for spaghetti. So yes, we are done. So we can proceed by putting the pasta within the sauce. Okay. My grandma would have killed me looking at me doing this, but I have just one pot, so. So it is, let's just add some more olive oil. Voila. This olive oil too, perhaps. Let's go, anyway. And one last thing, that is a lot of parmesan here, so we can stir it again so all the parmesan goes everywhere. And remember that cheese should always be added exclusively when the fire is off, because otherwise the casein, the protein within cheese, will melt, and it's not what you want to happen. You want the cheese to mantecare, that is to make the sort of cream that everybody loves in Italian pasta. Okay. I guess I should taste it. In the background we have Mario and Yoshi, Alex's dogs, complaining because they can't eat it. Okay. Interesting. Let me add some more cheese, some sort of topping here. Megan slot topping, they love cheese too. And finally, after having washed it properly, fresh raw basil. And here is our spaghetti with tomato sauce.